Welcome to Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. The 1978 Steelers and the 1985 Bears. In a matchup between two of the greatest teams in NFL history. They begin Season 7 with an incredible late afternoon matchup. And with that, we're underway. Nick Rice Financiado to what should be a fantastic football game. Dennis Gentry brings back the kickoff to about the 25. Phil, it's a game between two of the best ever. We should have an incredible wire-to-wire matchup, 85 Bears and 78 Steelers.
It definitely will be, Nick. It's been a while, but it's great to be back in the booth with you here for Dream Season 7, and I'm ready for it. Here we go.
Walter Payton, one of the great backs ever, on the run to the 40, the 30, first play of this game, and he's down inside the 15. It's a 61-yard run to get the game started.
Did not take long for Walter Payton to make his presence known in this one. That's why you call him Sweetness. Bounces it out to the outside, gets all the way down inside Steeler territory. What a way to start for the Bears.
Payton coming off a brilliant game with 130 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Packers last week. Off to a great start, a much-needed rest. Here's his backup, Dennis Gentry, down to the 5-yard line. It's amazing that after all of these years, these two clubs have stood the test of time as two of the best clubs in NFL history, the 78 Steelers and the 85 Bears. Pitch to Payton, and he's wrapped up near the end zone. The officials discuss whether he scored. They're thinking about it. They're talking about it. It's a touchdown to Payton. Fittingly, he caps off the drive with 6 points.
Fitting indeed, and I think they made the right call there. It looked like he may have been stopped short of the goal line, but looking at it a second time here, we get a great look of it on this view. He got in the end zone. Touchdown, Chicago.
Well, the 85 Bears are known as this legendary defense, but they had one of the great offensive weapons ever, too, Walter Payton, the Hall of Fame back out of Jackson State. Bears lead it just 52 seconds into the game. Dello Plain returns for the Super Bowl 13 champion, 78 Steelers, and that is where Pittsburgh begins its first drive. In a blueprint of the 85 Bears, the 78 Steelers have a great defense and a strong running game too. Bradshaw, the Hall of Fame quarterback, finds Smith for a gain of 9. Tackled by Gary Fensick.
You mentioned these teams are almost mirror images of each other. They have all-time great defenses, really reliable run games, and two quarterbacks that are tough as nails. This is a great matchup to start the season off.
Now, in terms of these clubs' passing games, the 85 Bears were 20th and the Steelers were 12th for their respective season. As you can see, the Steelers are 19th in offense overall. They're not going to wow you on offense, as Harris is stopped, and it's a change of possession back to the Bears after a Steelers punt. These offenses aren't going to amaze you, especially in the passing game, but they were certainly good enough to complement their legendary defenses. A 2-yard run here for Payton.
Yeah, their numbers offensively are not going to wow you. They're not going to jump off the page, but there's a lot of reasons for that. When you have defenses as good as these teams do, they're going to have a lot of short fields. They're going to have a lot of turnovers by their defense that result in points, so they're on the field less, and when they do, it's a shorter field. Those, among other things, are the reason that their numbers don't really pop out at you historically.
Well, that defense gives up a big play to Willie Gault. He's got some speed. That is the former track star from Tennessee with a 23-yard gain to get this one started for Chicago. As you could see, despite the win last week, they only had 177 yards of offense against the Packers on Sunday night. 7-0, this offense is off to a blistering start midway through the opening quarter. Check down to Suhi for a gain of 4. The offense for the Bears is playing well early against this steel curtain defense.
For those of you that have been with us since the beginning, you've seen Willie Gault make many great plays in this Dream Season series, and I think he's got a few more lined up for this season.
Well, he's as tough as it gets, certainly matches the physicality of the Pittsburgh Steelers. A second down pitch, and for one of the first times this year, he's been tackled for a loss. That is Jack Lambert. If anybody's going to bring him down to the backfield, it is him. 3rd down and 10 for Chicago. They need the 31-yard line and will empty the formation. McMahon looks, throws a slant, and Dennis McKinnon has 13 and a first down.
we mentioned enough about these Chicago Bears and their run game as well as the defense, but Jim McMahon, one of the toughest guys to ever play the quarterback position, really was the missing piece for this team in 1985 and put them over the hump to win the Super Bowl.
Well, they called Jim McMahon a punky quarterback as much as anything, as he showed his derriere to the camera before the Super Bowl. Jim McMahon, certainly not the most on-brand character, but he was so tough and almost the perfect style of quarterback for this football team, as he was certainly unafraid to make any sort of throw, and they're going to need another big play out of him on 3rd and 8. McMahon is hit as he throws, finds Margram over the middle, and the officials will bring in the chain gang to measure whether he got the first down. And upon a further measurement, they do grant Margram a first down for Chicago.
That's that toughness we were talking about. And don't get me wrong, I think if you ask his head coach or even George Halas, the owner of the Bears, he was a pain in the neck to deal with. But I think he was really respected by all the guys on that team and just really was one of the many great characters on that 85 Bears team.
A sensational season for McMahon as a Pro Bowl quarterback in the 85 campaign. Gentry dropped to the line of scrimmage.
One of the ironic things about Jim McMahon, if we want to talk about his career as a whole, he did win a second ring as a backup of the Green Bay Packers, of course, the sworn rival of the Bears. Just funny how some of those things shake out sometimes.
McKinnon with the touchdown, and the Bears jump out to a 2-score lead. It should be noted we will see Brett Favre, Jim McMahon, and those Packers on DSFL radio later in the year. After the McKinnon score, Pittsburgh's got a big hole to climb out of, trailing 14-0, and they'll close the first quarter with a run to Harris, and he is stuffed by McMichael and Hampton after a gain of maybe a yard. Let's check out what we've seen in the first quarter. The Bears 14, the Steelers nothing. Chicago 5 first downs, Pittsburgh with 1. This was a rout in the opening quarter, and the Steelers will try and bounce back to begin the second with a throw to Grossman. That's a gain of 10 in the first down.
Yeah, not the start you want if you're Pittsburgh. Not really a team that's built to come from behind, more a team that likes to play with a lead. It's not totally insurmountable to come back from this, but definitely not how you wanted to start if you're Pittsburgh.
Well, if you want to come back in a game like this, John Stallworth is a good target to spark that comeback. A big gain on first down for Pittsburgh's John Stallworth.
Yeah, you're going to want more of that, more connection on the play action. When you have a guy like Franco Harris in the backfield, he's going to demand a lot of attention, so those play actions are going to lead to guys like Stallworth being open down the field.
Best drive of the game for Pittsburgh. There's Stallworth on the sideline, and he's out of bounds. This is Madden NFL 10, folks, so you get all the cut scenes of officials with chain measurements and touchdown discussions for two of the great teams of all time. Super Bowl 20 and Super Bowl 13 champions. These two teams lost 3 games combined in their Super Bowl seasons. Cunningham for a gain of 5. Gary Fensick makes the stop again.
Pittsburgh starting to feel it a little bit, at least moving the ball forward. They've not abandoned the run, but it's clear that they have to make a few more connections here to keep this drive going.
And that drive comes to a stall as Grossman dropped it. Well, the Bears suffer a 3-and-out, so with 2:33 to go in the first half, Pittsburgh gets maybe 1 to 2 more cracks at it before halftime. A rare run from Franco Harris, and Hampton spills him at the line of scrimmage. Well, for folks who aren't quite aware of the 78 Steelers, they had a dynastic run of about a half-decade where they were the best team in football, and second place was the only place up for debate. The Steelers won 4 Super Bowls in 6 seasons, went back-to-back in 78 and 79 with a legendary defense and a Hall of Fame quarterback guiding a pretty good offense too. And that Hall of Famer finds Smith on 3rd and 8 for the first down. Pittsburgh playing well against this very strong 85 Bears club. Fresh set of downs to the 45 for the Steelers. They'll come out of this 2-minute warning with 4 receivers, trailing by 14, but putting together their best drive of the game. Bradshaw throws. There's Smith for the gain of 5.
While both these teams get compared to each other because of the defenses, the biggest difference really, Chicago had about a 3-year window, I'd say from 74 to 76, that they were the feared team in the NFL. Pittsburgh, however, like you mentioned earlier, they had about a decade of dominance, and that's really the difference between these two.
Well, certainly Pittsburgh played keep away from some of those great teams who would have loved to grab a Joe Green or a Terry Bradshaw. Steelers are really struggling on third down today. Bradshaw goes deep to his tight end, Benny Cunningham, for a gain of 17. The 85 Bears, many people believe, is the greatest defense of all time, and they are reeling on this late half drive. Bradshaw shoots it over the middle, and that is incomplete. Knocked away by Mike Richardson.
Yeah, definitely hard to argue in the conversation of best defenses. Both these teams would have arguments in that. And it's one thing to move the ball in them, but points come at a premium when you play a team like this.
Harris is stuffed for a loss. The 85 Bears allowed just 12.4 points per game, and to this day is one of the top 10 greatest defensive seasons of all time in points and yards allowed combined. There's a first down pickup to Harris. Pittsburgh coach Chuck Noll calls the team's opening timeout. Just a minute to go in the half. Rick Moser, a third stringer, is spilled at the 10 by Mike Singletary. Steelers are inching to the end zone with one timeout and a bit under a minute. Second down from the 10. Cunningham is the motion man as the Steelers try and spread out Chicago. Corner blitz, and Bradshaw throws to Cunningham, but it's a disaster, and the Steelers will go no huddle again. Third down and 10 yards to go. Bradshaw fires over the middle to Swan, and he is wrapped up at the 7. A great job, as you mentioned, Phil, bending and not breaking on defense. Field goal from a chip shot 24 from Jarella, and it's no good. And that's the defense that delivers the shutout, and the Bears get the ball back.
Yeah, that stop by Chicago you thought was going to be a 4-point swing, making them settle for the field goal, ended up being the full 7-point swing as they still lead this game by 2 scores going into the half.
The 85 Bears statistically put together a dominant first quarter and go into the half of 14-0. And those numbers are pretty clear. The Bears played the better game.
Yeah, definitely outplaying Pittsburgh up to this point, holding them under 100 total yards of offense, and more importantly, 0 points.
And with that, we're underway in the second half, week 2 of the greatest team season, right here on DSFL Radio. Nick Rice and Phil Nunziata. Franco Harris, one of the leaders of this football team for Pittsburgh. You saw his numbers. He has been an afterthought. They'll hand it to him for the 6th time today, and he picks up just 2, upended by Gary Fenson.
They are doing their best to get Franco Harris the ball. He is kind of the lifeblood of this offense. He's had plenty of carries, and they've even thrown it to him a few times. That seems to be a little more effective, but here's another carry from Franco. 7
runs for 8 yards. Really just a nightmare game for the Hall of Fame back out of Penn State. 3rd down and 4 for the Steelers to begin the second half. They have had a brutal 3rd down percentage today, but they do find Stallworth over the middle for a gain of 5. First down, Pittsburgh.
One of the greatest wide receivers of his era, John Stallworth, really was the star receiver on this Pittsburgh team. Always seemed to be there deep downfield when they need him.
Harris crawls ahead for a couple. Dan Hampton makes the stop for Chicago. The 85 Bears, while they have many stars on defense, Mike Singletary was the leader of that club, and he was the 1985 Defensive Player of the Year. He's been a bit quiet today, but he was somewhat involved on that incompletion. And if the Bears, leading 14-0, indicated anything in 1985, once they got a lead, they never relinquished it the entire season. Just an incredible football team on defense. And Bradshaw's 3rd down throw is incomplete. Otis Wilson knocks it away.
One of the most intelligent people to ever play the linebacker position in Mike Singletary. If you went back to the 80s then and told the guys that he would become an NFL coach afterwards, they'd all believe you. One of the most intelligent guys to play this game.
Gentry brings it back to the 30-yard line. And that's what's so tricky about the coaching ranks. As you can see, Chicago's been dominant all year, outscoring clubs 42-7. Singletary's a big reason why. It was pretty amazing that the Singletary head coaching run didn't work out quite like it did, but just to reach the head coaching ranks is a huge accomplishment. If anybody deserved that, it was Mike Singletary.
Absolutely, and it's not really that his coaching journey ended there. He still went on to become a great position coach and defensive coordinator for other teams after his run as a head coach. So still a guy that is welcome in any locker room and makes any team better.
And you could see coaches all across the league as head coach or assistant involved with these two football teams. Leslie Frazier's turned in a pretty solid coordinating and head coaching career in the NFL, and he was a part of that 85 Bears club too. Deep ball from McMahon is incomplete. Chicago's up 14-0 midway through the third quarter.
The intended receiver on the play.
Mari Buford, a rare appearance for the four-year man from Texas Tech, sends it deep to Bell, who shakes a tackle to the 40, and he is wrapped up just short of midfield. Another former head coach, that's Ron Rivera, makes the stop for the Bears. Pittsburgh, offensively, as you could see, with 3 punts and a missed field goal, they have had a brutal performance on offense. Bradshaw's under pressure, fires into triple coverage, certainly not the most ideal decision, and Richardson knocks it away.
Terry Bradshaw never afraid to try and sneak it in the tightest of windows. Didn't work out for him on that one, but it will not weigh his confidence the next time that comes around.
He beats the blitz with a slant to Cunningham, his 4th reception of the game. He's been a real security blanket early this season for the Pittsburgh quarterback, and his last throw sets up 3rd down. This was something you never saw in 78, an empty formation for Bradshaw. He flips it over the middle and finds Hall of Famer Lynn Swann for the 1st down. Swann, one of the great receivers of the 70s, moves the chains on a 3rd down and long.
Absolutely. We talked about Starworth earlier. Here's the other co-star of the Steelers offense, Lynn Swann, getting involved in this one.
And that's what's so scary for the 85 Bears. They never really faced a club like this who has 2 Hall of Famers at wideout along with this guy running the football. They've done a great job, and I'm sure that was Mike Ditka's game plan coming in. Just make them one-dimensional, make Bradshaw beat you. And they've done a great job with Harris, but Terry Bradshaw certainly beat him in certain spots so far today. Off the play fake, he throws over the post to Swann. That's a 19-yard strike. Phillips makes the stop. 1st down, Pittsburgh.
That's that play-action deep pass they've been building towards all game. They were probably hoping he can get over the safeties and get in the end zone, but now they're in the red zone looking to make this lead a bit more manageable if you're Pittsburgh.
The 85 Bears have led wire to wire. Just 5 plays into the game, they took the lead on Pittsburgh. It's 14-0 right now. Late in the 3rd, here's Bradshaw back to pass. Gets rid of it to Smith on an in-cut, and Wilson makes the stop at the 8-yard line. The Steelers are inching close. They had a possession to the 7 that ended with a miss from Roy Jarella. They face 3rd down from the 8-yard line here on the opposite end. Bradshaw's back, guns it into the end zone to Cunningham for the touchdown. And the Steelers score their 1st points of the game.
You mentioned earlier that something we wouldn't see from Pittsburgh in this era is the no-back set. And I think in that era, he wouldn't even know who his 3rd and 4th receiver was based on how good 1 and 2 are. But in the dream season, he's throwing touchdowns to him. Great play to cut the lead in half.
Well, in the Dream Season Football League, the 85 Bears and the 78 Steelers, it would be shocking if they don't make the playoffs. These two teams were so good, coming off wins last week, and this very easily could be a preview of the future. Lauren Toes picks off Jim McMahon. We mentioned both quarterbacks aren't afraid to make any throw. McMahon made the worst throw of the day for him. It's a turnover for the Bears.
That is a huge play for your Pittsburgh, exactly what you wanted to see. Let your defense make the play, and now your offense is one good drive away from tying this up, and they start with great field position.
Bradshaw is going backwards immediately. Bears bought that 46 blitz, and Wilbur Marshall's got the sack.
Right in the middle of the logo, they drop Terry Bradshaw. That might be a drive killer, but they always have an opportunity to convert, but a 2nd and 17 is not how you want to start a drive like this.
Another drive where they almost have to abandon the running game here early. Slant to Swann, and he is spilled at the 35-yard line. 3 grabs in the second half. Swann, after a 5-grab, 82-yard, 1-touchdown performance, and that touchdown was a game winner against Tennessee last week. He's off to a brilliant start this afternoon. Slant to Cunningham. He's played well, too, and the tight end moves the chains. Dave Duerson, the safety from Notre Dame, and a Pro Bowler, makes the stop. The Steelers have The only 4 first downs of the third quarter, and Pittsburgh has completely flipped the momentum of this game, converting a 2nd and 17 into a fresh set of downs. Bradshaw goes deep again, and that time it's incomplete. But the Steelers have something brewing here, Phil, to begin the fourth quarter.
They definitely do. After a hot first quarter for the Bears, defense has really settled in, and we hadn't seen much since. Now the Steelers have the ability to tie this one up in the fourth quarter.
Bradshaw's hit as he throws, and that pass falls incomplete. The Steelers have really come back on third downs too, as you can see, 7 for 11 so far in today's game. The 78 Steelers and the 85 Bears. Nick Rice, Phil Nunziata. 3rd and 10, Bradshaw's hit as he throws, and Cunningham's got it again. That's that not top 2 receiver that's making seemingly every big play for Pittsburgh today.
And credit to Bradshaw to stand in there and take that hit and still deliver this ball and make it catchable. That could have easily been another sack for Chicago, but instead they're looking at 1st and goal.
How about this? The 78 Steelers bring out the Wildcat formation, Phil. Direct snap, and Harris goes backwards.
I love the call. I don't think they love the result, but one of the things you're going to get when you have a team like this playing on Madden 10. But hey, it's worth a shot, right? It's only weird if it doesn't work.
That's right. 2nd and goal from the 13. Bradshaw, with plenty of time, throws one away as he just didn't find anybody open against that legendary defense. So now the Steelers face 3rd and goal. A touchdown would be needed to tie the game. And it should be noted the Bears have that weapon, Walter Payton, that can chew up as much clock as they need to. Bradshaw throws. Cunningham nears the end zone. Richardson wraps him up near the goal line, and the officials discuss it and say he is short of the end zone. Big play coming up as Cunningham stopped a yard away.
Very, very close. After the second look at it, I agree with the call. I don't think he got in, but that still puts them in great position here on the next play.
Very aggressive 4th and goal decision from head coach Chuck Noll and coordinator Tom Moore. Play action on 4th down, and the end zone shot from Bradshaw to Smith. It's a touchdown for the Steelers, and they're a PAT from tying it up.
Great play. What a clutch play there by Bradshaw and the Steelers. I get going for it based on the missed field goal earlier. The play action to Franco Harris sucked everybody in. They're able to find the receiver in the corner of the end zone. Tie ball game with just under 4 to go.
Willie Gaultz picks up about 8. This was the sort of game we expected coming in. Not quite the way we got here, but certainly a tight ball game. Bears and Steelers, 2 of the greatest teams in NFL history, and this matchup hasn't disappointed. Chicago has a chance to drive into field goal range at the very least. The offense that's been shut out in the second half. McMahon finds McKinnon for a gain of 5 and a 1st down for Chicago.
It's another example of a quarterback that knows how to stand in the pocket and deliver the football. He sees the pressure, feels it, still gets the ball out. Great play by McMahon.
And that's part of the quarterbacking that gets overlooked in so many instances as Peyton's dropped for a loss. The ability to hang in the pocket and take a shot as you throw is something you don't normally see on YouTube or Instagram with these quarterbacks over the years in those 5-on-5s. Suhi on a check down moves the chains for Chicago. That's one you don't see in the stat sheet. Where the quarterback can hang in like that, it makes the offense so much more dynamic.
I'm sorry, Nick. I got a little distracted thinking about what world would be like if Jim McMahon had Instagram in his playing days. That would have been a wild follow.
Well, for Jim McMahon, I'd say he might have gotten runner-up most famous Bear behind Mike Ditka. He was one of the great personalities on that 85 Bears club, one of the best ever. Ken Margram's down the sideline and is knocked out of the 32. McMahon's got this team rolling right now going into the 2-minute warning. 1st down from the 32. Draw to Peyton, and we go into the 2-minute warning. L.C. Greenwood makes a big stop in the backfield.
Yeah, if you're Chicago here, giving up the 14-point lead is never a good thing, but they're in a position here that if they take enough time off the clock, they could deliver the knockout blow and leave little time for Pittsburgh to retaliate.
Hall of Famer Walter Payton, we saw him rip off a 61-yard run to begin the game, but has been an afterthought since that opening drive. Payton gets the call and is buried for a loss. A great decision from coordinator George Parlis to design that blitz, and the Bears won't kick a field goal Buford with a 14-yard net punt belts it out of the end zone for a touchback.
Now that puts Pittsburgh in the situation to deliver the knockout blow. They have 80 yards to go, minute 40 to do it, 2 timeouts. This could be the final drive of the game.
Here's Stallworth in a foot race towards the end zone. A broken tackle from Richardson. Fensick brings him down after the gain of 40. Same exact situation 1 week later. Bradshaw ball with a chance to win the game on the final drive of the game for the Steelers. A great start here. Bradshaw throws one to Casper the Ghost, incomplete.
First time hearing his name today. He's been shut down by this team, by this Bears team going into the final quarter of the game here, and still has yet to make a connection.
Well, with 1:17 left in the fourth quarter, the Bears might want to consider timeouts if the Steelers move the chains a time or two more. A tunnel screen goes nowhere to Theo Bell. A minute left in the ball game, and the Steelers will take a shot towards the first down marker with Bradshaw. He throws over the middle to Grossman, who makes one man miss and is dragged down to the 36. Chicago does its job defensively. Steelers will forego a field goal. Colquitt sends one towards the end zone, and that's in for a touchback. Bears get it back late in regulation.
After a promising start with that 40-yard gain, Pittsburgh stalls out here, and now with just under a minute to go, that puts Chicago right back in the situation they were on the previous drive. With one good drive here, they could win the game.
McMahon checks it down short to Suhi. They do have 2 timeouts, but only 48 seconds. There's certainly, unless there's a miracle here, there's a big chance that we're set for overtime. Here's a pitch to Walter Payton, who gets by the first defender and gains a couple. The Bears use a timeout. They better be careful here. If they don't convert the third down, the Steelers may get the ball back again. 3rd down and 4, and they'll run it here with Walter Payton. He gets to the outside, spins to the 40. Big run from Payton, and there's no one in front of him. The 20, the 10. Walter Payton, 74 yards, touchdown Chicago.
Well, this game may end exactly the way it started, with a giant run from Walter Payton to put the Bears in front. What a move. Get to the outside. Nobody's going to catch him in a foot race all the way to the end zone. Reservations for 6, putting Chicago on top. That could be the game right there.
I'd love to hear what Mike Ditka was thinking about late in the ball game, running it with Walter Payton. Were they going to their best player, or was this just a design run to try and send us to overtime? Walter Payton dominates here in the fourth quarter against this incredible Steelers defense. And outside of a miracle with 26 seconds to go, the Bears are going to win this football game. And to no surprise, Payton's today's player of the game.
Absolutely. Started strong, finished even stronger, and I think it could have been a little bit of both to answer your earlier question. I think if you give the ball to Walter Payton enough, something good's going to happen eventually.
Incredible 2 weeks of football for Payton. 130 yards a week ago, even more than that if that's even possible in today's game against the Steel Curtain. Just 20 seconds left. Bradshaw's hit as he throws, and that is tipped away by Leslie Frazier, the veteran from Alcorn State. 2nd down with 15 seconds to go, and by this point, Swan or Stallworth on a deep ball might be your best bet if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. Harris is in the block on 2nd down. Bradshaw's under pressure and is sacked. Timeout Pittsburgh. They may be down to one more play here, Phil.
Yeah, that could be it. That's not the direction you want to be going here. Bradshaw probably going with what you're saying with Nick, looking for one of his big receivers down the field. Ran out of time. Clock hit 0 as he's eating some turf.
A thrilling football game. We are a 71-yard play away from overtime for the Steelers. If they're stopped, the game is over. Bradshaw goes deep, and that is tipped, leaving them one more play. So it all comes down to this. It's a Hail Mary towards the end zone for Pittsburgh in their last-ditch effort. 3 seconds left in a riveting game to get the season started. The greatest team season, Bears and Steelers. Bradshaw goes deep, picked off by Reggie Phillips, and this game is over. The 1985 Bears win it against the Steelers in a thrilling football game. Payton wins player of the game, and Chicago's defense delivers in the end.
Absolutely. Walter Payton and this defense doing what's needed to get this job done. Stop me if you've heard that story before. Great game. Glad we could be a part of it. And Dream Season 7 is alive and well, Nick. It's great to be back.
For Phil Nunziata and the rest of our excellent crew, I'm Nick Grice saying thanks so much for watching the Dream Season Football League Season 7. We're just underway. The 85 Chicago Bears, winners over the 78 Steelers. Our final score from Soldier Field, the Bears 21 and the Steelers 14.